All right. Sniper Sports back in the house. We're live from the 808. We shoot you straight. This is Joey, and with me, as always, is Steven. And we're getting closer and closer, man. As far as the NBA Finals is concerned, we're getting closer to that final matchup between the last two teams standing. So tonight we're going to recap round 2 of the playoffs. We had those finish off, and we're now into the Eastern Conference and Western Conference Finals. We're going to talk about that. Also, the NBA Draft Lottery was just the other day. Some interesting things unfolded there. We're going to get Steven's thoughts, my thoughts, and your thoughts on that. But Steven, why don't we go ahead and start with before we get into the final round of the playoffs? Let's just kind of recap what happened in the second round of the playoffs. We had Golden State and Houston go 6 games. Golden State finished that off in 6 games. We also had Boston and Milwaukee. Boston and Milwaukee. That finished in 5 games. Also Portland, Utah. That was such a close series, a 7-game series.
Denver.
Did I say Utah? I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Portland and Denver. Gosh, forgive me here, folks. Portland and Denver. That was such a close series, but Portland edged it out. Big games with C.J. McCullough, Dame Lillard. And then on the other side, we also had Toronto and Philadelphia. Of course, I know you all probably can't forget that memorable shot where it bounced on the rim 3-4 times. Kawhi Leonard as he's running to the corner to hit that big 3 as time expired. So Steven, hey, let's start with you and your thoughts. What did you think? Let's start out in the West. As far as the Golden State-Houston matchup, were you surprised on the outcome? What do you think Houston needs to do differently? And just kind of give me your thoughts on what you saw there and how that series ended.
I think you saw what was going to happen at the end of Game 5 when KD went out. Houston had an opportunity to win it in that game, to go back home to be up 3-2. But they, or they could have been up 3-2 and closed the game out in Houston. Excuse me. And I just think you just see D'Antoni's team. You just see the team that just wasn't prepared. They came out, Steph had a very bad first half, but the second half that he just lit it up with 33 points. I don't understand what people are thinking is going to be different with D'Antoni and with Harden. This has happened for the past 3 years. They've come out, they basically face the same Golden State team, and they've lost every single time. They want to blame it on the refs. They want to blame everything else on everybody else,
right?
But never look at themselves and what are they doing? What are they not doing
To get over the hump.
Exactly. Yeah. D'Antoni's system hasn't improved anything except that it's a very high scoring offense.
Thank you.
And let's be honest, he's only been 50%. The teams I can think of that he's been a head coach of, Phoenix Suns, very explosive, never made it to a final series. He's coached the Lakers, didn't do anything there. He's coached Melo with the Knicks, didn't do anything there. And now he's had success with Harden again because he's had that type of dominant point guard that he's had. I just don't think that his teams are, especially if he's the head coach, that are built to make a run for the championship. They're so high, so much high octane. They produce a lot of points, but yet when it comes to playoff time, he seems to not know what to do. Harden and Chris Paul just seems to dribble the ball, and hopefully, PJ Tucker or Eric Gordon are there to make a 3, and that's basically their offense, or they're going to drive and they're just going to try to throw it up and have Capella try to dunk it. It's the same thing, this is not penicillin. It's not going to finally work.
Right.
Golden State is a different juggernaut. You see a lot of other teams maybe trying to emulate that, but it just doesn't work. I mean, Golden State is on another level. And, of course, Houston said all the right things. The owner said, we're going to come back. Of course, I'm pissed off. James Harden said, I know what we need to do to beat them. I could have swore he said that the past couple years, and it's never happened.
Right.
So you can think what you want to do, but until you do it, so I'm not surprised at all. They came out and played hard on the 2 games, game 3 and 4 for Houston. But all those other games, Golden State just wanted it. They turned on a different switch when KD went out, and basically saw the return of the Splash Brothers.
Yeah. When push comes to shove, Golden State just seems to have Houston's number. Houston reminds me of kind of like a prize fighter who throws great shots, but he takes a lot of shots as well. I mean, they're just kind of a one-trick pony. The same thing, like you said, D'Antoni's teams, very well put. I don't see anything different. It's all offense. Can't get big stops when you need. I thought this year I saw the decline just with the eye test, Steven. I saw the decline of Chris Paul. And that's no disrespect to Chris Paul. He's just simply getting older. He doesn't have the same explosiveness. He wasn't that great shooter who he used to be with the LA Clippers. If he did, he had his opportunity. And I just think the Splash Brothers, not only stating the obvious that they shoot so well, but the chemistry. The chemistry after 4 or 5 years with those guys and having the same core of players, regardless if KD's in there or not. And that's what you saw here. And I don't think... I also saw Clint Capella decline a little bit this year, whereas last year he was on the uprise. He was having a really nice postseason. Eric Gordon is a stud. This guy can do it all. Drive the lane, take three-point shots, very good at the line. Solid player, had a very good postseason, I thought. James Harden, dominant one-on-one player, but like you said, much of the same thing. Holding the ball 18, 19 seconds out of the possession. I mean, all it's going to take is a game for him to be off, and then he doesn't get the help. These guys are just going to squeeze you. So that's what we saw there. I don't think Houston necessarily needs to blow up the team, but I think it's probably more than likely, if we're talking about competing for a championship, time to move on from Chris Paul. Golden State Warriors, man, what can I say? They're the defending champs. They seem to have more chemistry and playing well, and they seem to not get mentally tired, which is the big thing. And I'm expecting them to go all the way. I've been saying it all year, and I haven't seen anything to deter me from that. So Golden State, I really don't have much to say, but Houston, I don't want to say you're going to have to blow up the team, but whatever you're doing is not working. Maybe a change at coach and maybe a change at point guard, if not both. Let's go ahead into the other series, Toronto and Philadelphia. God, that was another great series, 7-game series, so close. I mean, they played 7 games and was only separated by 2 points. Philly, I thought, played well, played their hearts out. Push come to shove, they answered the bell. Just what can you say? Kawhi Leonard hitting that great shot towards the end. Your thoughts on this series, and what did you see from both teams?
I give credit to the Raptors. They played hard and came out with a win. I think when you look at Kawhi, it reminded me of Kobe back in the Game 7 against, I think in 2010 it was, against the Boston Celtics, where he was just trying so much because he really wanted to win. He wanted to move on to the next round. I think that's what Kawhi did. I think he took like 40 shots or something ridiculous like that.
38 shots,
38 shots. So I think it was just him really wanting to win. Everyone played great. I thought Serge Ibaka had hit some key threes. Siakam played a decent game. Kyle Lowry played a great game. On Philadelphia's side, this has been so much talked about, with Ben Simmons, but I think having him in a half-court offense is really bad for Philly. What I mean by that is, you look at it, I think Greg Anthony was saying it, so many commentators were saying it. Why wasn't Embiid on the block? Why wouldn't you put Embiid on the block and let him work? Even if it means like bringing Ben Simmons out there and having him, no one guard him where he can drive the ball or maybe pass it to Embiid.
Sure.
Do something of that sort, because you saw Embiid, he was just taking shots. He tried to look like he was trying to play point guard or shooting guard.
Yeah, he had his face to the basket the whole time.
Playing that 3, and I think it really hurt them in that game. Luckily Butler was doing his thing and he got some points. Tobias Harris did well, but it came down to where I think Kawhi just wanted it more. He got off a great shot, and I think he gave the shot an opportunity to go in. People want to say it's luck or he just got lucky, but fading to your right, having to shoot over Embiid, it's tough, but he gave it a right shot. He put it up there and he got the shooter's bounce and it rolled in. So great game from both teams. I think Philly really needs to look at the dynamic of that team and what they need,
Yeah.
and what some of these players need to improve on, especially Ben Simmons. He needs to hit some type of shot.
No question.
Something of that sort.
You can't be 6'10" and just not have a shot, or simply be in the NBA and not have a shot. Look, I thought Philly played a good series, but man, definitely Simmons with the shot. That's an issue. He has to come back this summer, and no doubt. I mean, he has to come back with a jump shot. You can't just be 6'10", and the only thing they have to worry about is you driving the lane. Another thing, I saw with the Sixers, you have to trust your players. Like, this is why Embiid needs to go down low in the post. So if he gets doubled, he can kick it out to a Redick. Redick can shoot his butt off, man. You leave him open. Tobias Harris, Redick, these are good shooters. But what I don't see, Steven, I don't see the trust with the teammates there. They don't have the same type of chemistry. And I know they haven't been together as long as teams like Golden State or even Houston. But there needs to be a little bit more trust among the players. But I think that's a good team. I know one of the commentators was saying today on the news that, it doesn't work. The Sixers have 4 players that don't work. I don't see it that way, man. They played a 7-game series and lost by 2 points. They're a young team. They fought hard. I really like the coach and the way the coach had his players back and stood up for the players. I'm a fan of Brett Brown. I think they have everything they need. If Simmons improves and Embiid can get healthier and more consistent, and you bring everybody back, I mean everybody, Tobias Harris, J.J. Redick, Enos, bring them all back, man. I like Philly and where they're going. Let's not forget, just a few years ago, they were a bottom team. They were barely winning 20, 21 games a year. That's why they got all these number 1 picks. So I just want to give out a shout out to Philly. Keep your head high. I thought you guys had a pretty good series. Toronto, they just seemed to will it. Kawhi Leonard, he wanted it. He took a lot of shots, and that's what you saw happen there. But a 2-point game, I mean, there's nothing to hang your head on here, Philly. Good series, even though Toronto moves on to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Another thing you have to realize with Philly too is this team has only been together maybe about 2-3 months. They just got Tobias Harris and Butler just before the trade deadline. So, I would say one more year with this crew. If you can, and if you don't do it, Elton Brand needs to dispatch his team little by little and decide who you want to build this team around,
right?
And go from there. So, yeah, Philly.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say about that series, I thought Jimmy Butler had a very good series. I thought he stepped it up and showed that he was a key veteran on that team. All right, hey, let's move along. Let's Western Conference, Portland, Denver. There's another series that was dynamite. Went 7 games. Portland was able to close it out. A dynamite Game 7 by C.J. McCollum. Dame didn't really have it going. He kind of had an average, maybe pedestrian game, you could say. But C.J. McCollum down that stretch. McCollum, I'm sorry. McCollum. Anyway, C.J. was hot, man. I mean, that's all I can say. He was hot. He played big. Cantor's had a pretty good series. And Portland, I'll say it again, they've really overachieved. Denver, Jokic, man, that guy is so skilled. It was nice to watch a 7-game series where I really got to watch some of their players. Jamal Murray, he's going to have a very, very nice future. Denver has nothing to hang their hat on. I mean, Millsap kind of didn't have the best Game 7. Isaiah Thomas has been hurt. That's someone that could potentially help them, but I think he's not right and may not never be back to where he was when he had that MVP candidate with Boston a few seasons ago. But shout out to Denver. They had a really good season. I'll say it again, Portland continues to impress me. I think they have overachieved with simply having the second best backcourt in the league behind Curry and Clay, with McCollum and Dame. Dynamite series. And now Portland's moving on with Golden State.
Definitely. I'll definitely piggyback on what you said. Definitely about Denver, Jokic, Murray. There were great other pieces inside there for Denver. The one thing that I really focus on, and the reason why I didn't pick them having going far, even past the Spurs, was them being young. What I feel, Joey, is sometimes they just don't have that desire. This is the first time they've really been in the playoffs.
Right.
Whereas Portland, with Dame and CJ, they've been bounced. They've been swept 2 years in a row. They have that desire. They have that hunger.
Hungry, yeah.
You know what I mean? They know what it takes. Okay, I know what I need to do to maybe get over that hump. Where I think Murray and Jokic and some of these other young guys, they really didn't know what it took to to get over that hump.
Right. They're kind of like, hey, we're happy to be here. We're the number 2 seed in the West.
And they're relying more on their talent to get them over the hump, more than per se like putting them in the right positions. You know what I'm saying? Taking advantage of mismatches, seeing the mismatch,
right,
and going after it continually to make them punish and pay for it. And I think that was a big difference in this game. But I think Portland is a great team. You know, for me, the question for them has always just been their shooting. They just never been really consistent in their shooting, as you saw with Dame. Great first series against OKC. Yes. Fell off a little bit in the Denver series.
Right, cooled off a little bit.
Luckily, like CJ, Rodney Hood helped him out. Cantor as well. Ernest Cantor, yep.
Yeah.
So with this series coming up in Golden State, we're going to see if they can get it going, both of them. Because I think if they do, it'll make it for an interesting series.
I do, definitely. And let's quickly recap Game 1 of that series. We just had Game 1 the other night. Golden State, Portland. Steph Curry got really hot. I believe he was 9 of 15 from three-point land. Klay Thompson was also hot. He had 26. Curry had 36. Golden State wins easily at home. Portland, I mean, they had a tough 7-game series with Denver. Maybe they came out a little flat. McCollum, Dame didn't particularly shoot well. Rodney Hood. Even though they gave up Game 1, I still like Portland to win a game, maybe even 2 games, because I think they're scrappy, they're good at home, and these guys are good when they're hot. You know, like I said, I'm not surprised if they'll win a game or 2, even though they didn't take Game 1. But I do see Golden State coming up with this series. You know, let's just get to the end. I don't see anybody stopping Golden State. I like them to go all the way.
I totally agree. I think the first game, it was so hard to really look at the game and analyze it, was they said with Portland, they had a tough game, 7-game series.
Yeah.
The turnaround was really tough for them from Denver, maybe back to Portland, and then back to down to Golden State. I think that travel time and getting accustomed to the climate and to everything else really took a toll on them. Mm-hmm. But you really did see if they're going to play defense that way and let Steph and Klay get those kind of shots off, I think it's going to be a long series for Portland. I do hope to see something different in Game 2. That's why it's so hard to really analyze the game. You can say whatever you want about Portland, the turnovers, the bad shooting.
Yeah.
But they did look tired. They did look like they've been, they went through a hard series against the Denver team. So hopefully Game 2 will be better. But, getting that rest, maybe they can pull out I don't know if they can in Game 2. I can see them winning maybe Game 3 and then maybe Golden State finishing it in 5, maybe 6 games. But I think Portland's one or 2 games max.
I agree with that. I agree. All right, moving over to the Eastern Conference. We had Game 1 tonight. Toronto flying to Milwaukee. Game 1 in Milwaukee. Milwaukee edged them out. The final score 108-100. This game was interesting, Stephen, because Toronto was actually ahead up through 3 quarters, and then Milwaukee, I believe, outscored Toronto 32-17 in the 4th quarter. Brook Lopez, monster night, 29 points, hit 4 3-pointers, 11 rebounds, 4 blocks. Just kind of a turn back the clock night for Brook. Probably not going to happen, again in this series, that he goes for almost 30 with that many rebounds and blocks. But and Brogdon was contributing tonight. He had 15 points, and just the way they battled back. This is what I like about the Bucks. They're a young team, and they seem to figure out how to stay calm when they're down, to not give up, to keep toeing the line, to keep their head down, keep it steady, and just chip away. Because we all know basketball, it's streaky. It's all in a rhythm. These guys, if you can keep that mental together and get in your rhythm and find your shot. And that's what Milwaukee does really good for a young team. That is one of their strengths, and that's what they displayed tonight. That's why they got the win. Yeah,
agreeing with you, everything you said about Milwaukee. I think they're a young team, but not that young of a team. If you look at some of these other players they have, a sense of role players, like a Brook Lopez, he's been around the league for a while. Eric Bledsoe's been around the league for a little bit of while. George Hill has been around the league. So a lot of these other players have been around the league, and so I think they understand the maturity of the game. They understand what it takes to win, to calm down. Let's not get crazy with it. They know what kind of talent they have in Giannis. They defer to him, I think, in big situations. On the flip side with Toronto, Also, sorry for Milwaukee, real quick. Brogdon being back, I think he gives you a very great consistency. He's not that flashy point guard, but he'll give you decent numbers. 15 points, like you said tonight. 5 or 6 rebounds. Exactly. He's that great point guard that's going to make the right plays, the smart plays. He's a typical, I guess you would say, old-time point guard where he knows how to control the game, knows what needs to be done. He'll help the flow of the offense run. So I think Milwaukee is extremely happy to have him back. But going back on Toronto, what you said, I think if you're playing game one and just seeing the outcome and the whole scenario of the game, you're up in Milwaukee, coming off a hard game 7 where they had a couple of days to rest. You were up. The things you were doing was getting the job done. Even though Brook Lopez had a great game, up until the third quarter, you're still up. If you look at the fourth quarter with the box score, I think Kyle Lowry is the only one that scored a field goal in the fourth quarter. And you lose by 8 points, and you had a substantial lead. I think you really got to be happy with what you are. I don't really think that Brook Lopez or anybody else is going to have these great games where they're going to come on and score 30 points. Yes, Giannis is going to have his game. He's Giannis. But I think if you're role players like Van Fleet, Serge Ibaka, Pascal Siakam, there you go. Green. Danny Green, like they can all give you double-digit points, 15 to 16 points. I think you're gonna come out of this ahead. I do have Milwaukee coming out, but this is the first team I feel that in the playoffs has a real opportunity to beat Milwaukee.
I think so too, Steven. I think Toronto really has a puncher's chance. I really do. And to piggyback your point even further, I'm just going through some numbers here. And tonight, Toronto only had 3 players in double figures. That was Lowry, Siakam, and Leonard. Lowry played 40 minutes and had 30 points. It's really too bad. Has anybody been more consistent in the playoffs than Kyle Lowry?
Yep.
As far as what we consider a star? I don't think so. Kyle Lowry's been highly inconsistent. But look, Danny Green, 35 minutes, 6 points. Marc Gasol, 39 minutes, 6 points. Serge Ibaka, 18 minutes, 4 points. Van Fleet got 13 minutes, just 2 points. That's not going to do it, man. That's not going to do it against Milwaukee at home. The role players need to show up. Siakam had a nice game. Kawhi Leonard does what Kawhi Leonard does. He had 31 points tonight, but they're going to need help from those significant role players that we know that can do it, and particularly Marc Gasol and Danny Green and Ibaka. You three really need to step up. Kawhi Leonard can't do it himself every single night. But yes, I agree with you. I really do think Toronto has a puncher's chance in this series, even though I'm calling Milwaukee in 6.
Okay. I agree. I think they have a puncher's chance. We'll see if they can move on.
Yeah. But so far, great series. Giannis has been the man. Kawhi Leonard might be the best player in this whole playoff so far. I'd say him and Giannis is probably 1 and 1A so far. So,
Definitely.
Yeah, just awesome. But I'm enjoying both of these series. Don't sleep on Golden State, Portland. You're going to get a lot of fireworks there. How was that, Steph? 9 of 15 the other night. It's funny, the other brother, Seth Curry, had 0. I think he had 3 points. I think he hit 1 3. Other than that, he had nothing there.
I think it's a different stage. Every stage that you go on, it's a different stage, and it's a different. And that's why you got to give it to Golden State. They have that experience where they've been there.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've been there 5 straight years. Maybe so. They know what to expect. They know how to save their energy. Exactly. They know what they need to do. So.
Absolutely. So there we are. So far in the Eastern Conference, we have Milwaukee up 1-0 against Toronto. And of course, Golden State in the Western Conference, 1-0 on Portland. We did have the NBA draft the other night. Of course, a lot of hype. Zion Williamson was in the house. And,
RJ was in the house.
RJ was in the house, everybody was there. Of course, I think most people feel like New York would be the ideal place for Zion Williamson, or that seemed to be the hype. But what ended up happening was the New Orleans Pelicans, through the draft lottery, received the number 1 pick. I think Memphis got 2.
Yep.
New York Knicks 3, and Los Angeles Lakers, our Lakers, Steven, at 4.
I was close.
Yeah.
Was close.
So wow. Looks like Zion was a little disappointed. I heard he left the draft immediately. But if you're the Pelicans here, Anthony Davis has already made it very clear and verbal that he does not want to remain a Pelican. He's looking for a trade. He's adamant about that. Zion, it's not like New Orleans is such a bad place. It's just it hasn't been a very, how should we say, a prosperous organization. You know, it's one of those places you can go and kind of get lost in the NBA. You know, it's kind of like going to Buffalo and New York or Jacksonville. You know what I mean? The Jacksonville recently has been a little bit better, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Prior to that, those places you can go and kind of just get lost. And, is he still in the league? Yeah, he's in Buffalo.
Exactly. I think it's just, I think it's just going to be interesting and maybe what kind of hype he can bring to the Pelicans, even if they do select him.
And we're assuming that they're going to take him one overall.
Exactly.
I mean, that's really
a
strong possibility.
I look at in a sense of where he goes in the sense of the Pelicans. I think having someone like David Griffin, who is a great GM, there's a great coach over there. I think that can definitely help his game and help model him into something great. So I mean, I can see his disappointment. I think everyone just hyped up the Knicks so much that's who was going to get the number one pick.
Right.
Everyone thought that they were going to get the number one pick, and
they were hoping Zion would be there to save the Knicks, save New York.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I guess they got the wrong Duke player. They got the Duke quarterback, and they wanted the Duke, the power forward, whatever. But for the draft, I think it's just interesting how it is now, and I think when you're looking at the totality of the draft and where some people are, like the Hawks, they didn't have a great season. The Suns didn't have a great season. Of course the Knicks are third. I don't know why I take some pleasure in that. But you look at this draft and how they kind of change things up so people don't tank, and giving an equal opportunity almost to every team. Man, I think they really just messed up the NBA almost. You know what I'm saying? Like Pelicans and the Grizzlies.
Yeah, I mean, wow.
It's going to be very interesting. But what I do like for it, I mean, I think the Knicks are just having bad luck because who really wants the third pick? You know what I'm saying? Like, it looks like they might take R.J. Barrett maybe if they do. But yeah, I really don't.
Any chance the Knicks trade up for that number one pick?
They don't really have anyone else. I mean,
they don't have. Who could they give up, right? I mean,
they don't really have anyone else that they could give for the Pelicans.
Dennis Smith Jr. or Tim Hardaway. No, he went to Dallas.
Yeah,
I don't know who they could give up.
You have Knox, you have some of these other people, but they
really don't have anybody.
Yeah, you have to trade almost the whole team just to get, Anthony Davis or to get something else.
True.
So I don't even know what they do. The Lakers being the fourth pick, though, I do like that. Just for the sense of this, I know we do need a shooter. I do know we need someone that can shoot the ball for LeBron. I really don't think the Lakers are going to do this because you have some idiot people in upper management. But putting together a package deal for maybe like a Bradley Beal, you know what I'm saying? I think Washington wants to get rid of him. They want to start anew. For them having the 4th and the 9th pick, I think could help them out tremendously. And depending on how things go, I mean, John Morant could be at 4th. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't know if the Grizzlies are going to pick him. In the Knicks, if they're going to go after Kyrie, why would they have that kind of go after that kind of talent?
Right.
So I think he could fall to 4th, and the Wizards could have something interesting there.
It's going to be interesting to see what the Lakers do. I definitely hope they get a shooter. We definitely don't need another guard, and it would be silly to get a big man when we just traded Zubac to the Clippers for essentially nothing when he looked like he was coming along just fine. So I'd be really, disappointed if we got a big man. Hopefully we can get a shooter, maybe somebody to play the 3 there, and knock down shots. I mean, that's really what we need. It seems like the Lakers have too many people that can do the same things at this point. So we'll see what they get at 4th. But yeah, I'm just curious to see what New Orleans is going to do with that number 1 pick. It's almost a foregone conclusion that Zion will be selected number 1. I mean, this guy's captivating. There's just so much hype on him that I can't see him going anywhere else, falling farther than 1, really. I don't know who that would be. But we'll see I don't believe the draft is until June. Is that right?
I think in June, yes.
June is the draft, yeah. So we shall see.
Yeah. So I was just kind of quickly thinking about the Pelicans,
Yeah.
I know David Griffin wants to talk with AD about staying, and maybe AD goes, hey, man, trade that number 1 pick and someone else and get me this superstar. Maybe that could trade out for him to stay there. I think that would be pretty interesting.
Scenario, yeah. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't have to go anywhere and you get a star. I don't know.
So I'm just saying, I'm just throwing things out there. Maybe, they could be creative.
Right. No, that is a point to bring up. We'll see what happens there. But all right, well, that's our show for tonight. We're pretty much just capping the NBA Finals here in the draft. Stay with us. The next show, we'll go ahead and let you know what's unfolding here in these series. We'll be staying tuned. But just so you know, we're like in Golden State and Milwaukee. I think collectively we can decide on that.
I think so.
Yeah.
Definitely going for Golden State, though.
They just look head and shoulders in front of everybody, man. It's going to be interesting to see, but that's why we play the games, because you just never know.
Definitely.
It is basketball.
All right, guys. Until next time.
We're out.